Derek wasn't joking when he said there was a storm brewing. These waves are as big as a house. Keep rowing or we're done for. Strip. Look out! Here comes a big one!
So we went LARPing again.
Yeah, we went LARPing again. Welcome back.
Yeah, this is
E3
E3 2019.
Bam.
Bam. So good. Like, we've decided how we've done it this time is to start Friday slightly later.
Yeah.
So we're starting basically at time in on Friday here. If you want to hear some of the stuff which is the beginnings of Friday, which normally we have in these episodes, you can find that in the pre-LARP. I think that's just because we really want to get into the meat of the event.
Yeah, there's loads to this event.
Yeah, there was a lot that happened, and I think just having the chance to sort of really hammer into it over the actual LARP episodes is really what we're going to do.
Yeah, so
it kicks off with time in. Yeah, so there's the national standing, but there's also the Ashbourne standing that we have, which is where
our group, right?
Yeah, so we normally kind of meet around the fire, just kind of talk about the various things we've kind of got on IC. And a big part of that was the fact that now Good Dave is the Ash Keeper, which was your character, Ifan's old role.
Yeah, military leader of
military leader, yeah. So, and obviously on top of that, the introduction to your character, which was very interesting.
Gel, the seafaring, Gellet, Gelert.
Yeah.
Gellet.
Yeah.
Gel for short.
I called you a mixture of Gil and Gel all the way through.
Yeah,
the event.
exactly.
But, it was, yeah.
Everyone did. I did.
What I liked was I felt you had kind of a look and a kind of a slightly jaunty.
I'm here for a good time. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah,
you know, that sort of vibe. You know?
Yeah, it was kind of quite a different pace of character, I guess, to Ifan, who, while Ifan was certainly not super serious all the time, he was a driven individual. While your current character is certainly driven in some aspects, but he's more driven in a sort of a curious rather than a go get 'em kind of style of doing things.
Thank you very much. We haven't said that. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I was going for. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it kind of came across to me.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to just kind of really, also to feel like a stranger in your own striding, Ian.
Yeah, and to have to play off that as well, because we're all still very, very new to this kind of idea of doing RP, ad LARP, and we're all still, I think, finding our feet in it, very much so. So there is the natural disconnect of, not only do I think of you as you, David, I think of you as Ifan, right? That ad LARP has been a big part of your identity. So having to then shift to interacting with this new character, I think I had a slight advantage because I knew about the character a little bit, and also I'd made your armor.
Yeah.
So that gave me like a little bit more, I think, of an immediate access to being able to RP with you.
Yeah, it's just trying to be more like a kind of, I want to be there to kind of hype everyone else up, encourage people to be the better version of themselves.
You did this really cool thing where you actually demonstrated your newfound powers.
Yeah, at the standing.
And that was really good fun. So you kind of empowered Lloyd's character. And Lloyd, not yet, but sorry, yeah. You empowered Lloyd's character, Lindir, to cleave me, yeah. And he did so.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually call cleave.
No.
But he could have done. He felt the power and ability to do so. And that was kind of cool. But so it was a really cool thing. You actually sort of demonstrated your abilities.
Just for the lols, right?
Just for the lols, right? It was really good fun. Super
And plus
fun.
there's no skirmishes on the Friday.
Well, I had one set. I was.
You had one set because so you went out with the Eurozen to go and do.
We'll get there when we get there. Yeah. So part of my kind of character's thing I see is he's been spending all this time in Brokilliand. I've gone over this a little bit in the pre-LARP, but it's worth repeating here. I see my character's been in Brokilliand, basically carrying on the fight that Ifan had started there for the striding, and part of that is that I've been working with the Urazeni as basically their guide and like a scout skirmisher sort of combat medic advisor against the Vlorn for the Urazeni forces that are helping us there. And that was really cool. It gave me a lot of access to both parts of the game I really wanted to get into a lot more. It kind of made me try and make Talus a bit more of a sort of a serious and driven character in his own right. I'm not a super kind of socially confident person. So like, in terms of when we go LARPing, I struggle to actually introduce myself to people. And I think everybody does, but I think it's something that I get nervous about. But
I think honestly that's not obvious the way that you play your character.
Well, I hope it's one of those things. It's very nice of you to say, but I think I feel it, right? And it's like something that's kind of changed is this idea of
everybody. Like, I don't know. Some people don't. Being a bolshy fucker, sometimes I get very nervous.
Well, I think everyone does actually.
Yeah.
But some people are more accustomed to
true.
that. It's a skill, right? It's something you've got to exercise, right? I'm very confident talking about the things that I'm confident talking about. I'm not super confident necessarily going IC yet all the time, like hardcore RP. But I think one thing that's happened is through the process of doing LARP, I have become more comfortable role playing.
Yeah.
It's not that it comes naturally, and I can see a time, and I certainly see certain players who the experience of being their character sort of flows very nicely and very naturally from them.
I found this character made the decisions for me. It was much more impulsive and kind of like just to kind of chase it down, and that helped with just making the decisions, because I got all over the place this weekend.
You set challenges, and quite in terms of the game that really you and me have had, I think you set quite brave challenges for yourself.
Yeah, I set myself impossible tasks just for fun, basically.
Yeah, but also
but
also things that I think are maybe slightly out of your own comfort zone, and I think you were
extremely out of my comfort zone, and also areas of the game that frankly scare the crap out of me with what they actually are like, right?
Yeah.
It's
So we should go over your character. You basically picked a kind of a battle mage. So you're essentially like you can cast spells and things.
But also because I'm so I can empower people, which means that I can put my hand on their shoulder, gives them some chat, right? About I am by the power of the raging sea and the howling winds. I'm power, right?
Yeah, and then
that was my stick, right?
Yeah.
This is what I was going to do. Basically, from what I understand, magic is an awful lot of giving some chat and then doing a thing, and then the thing has happened, right? And that works for rituals as well, from what I understand. We'll get to
rituals when we get there. I think it's very interesting because what I like about the game and the way the game's set up, and bearing in mind that the game, I think, is very conscious of the fact that everybody has different levels of comfort in terms of, how much they want to...
Interest. Yeah. And the way they want to play it, right?
It's so open. It's not like there's a prescribed set of things that you have to do in a robotic kind of way.
There was... Yeah, exactly. And I was a bit scared about all of this part of the game, because I didn't want to be, like, just bogged down in rules and silliness, right? Like, and I just wasn't interested in that, right? I want to play a much more flowing game. And this, I'm like... All I have to do is chat, and I can do that. I can just freestyle some jibber jabber about whatever, and really put some oomph into it. And
and I think you do that fantastic. I think you're a very natural kind of speaker.
But it was a weird thing to. This had a shift in me. This for some reason, playing this sort of character and having to do that sort of thing, I'm a lot more comfortable with just RPing.
Yeah.
Some of the more. Not the character, but the game.
I'm interested. So part of that, I think, is that you've set yourself challenges. And I think by setting yourself challenges, I think that drives you towards... It sort of forces you to do certain RP things, or you're not going to get anywhere.
So let's spell out basically what I was kind of interested in, right? Yeah. So it was an offhand comment made by someone when we were talking about our banner.
Yeah.
That we don't have any political people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No political people. And it's like politics has the game is a blank thing to me.
Yeah.
You just say the word politics, I have a general understanding, there's a lot of meetings, it's very boring, people are very, very smart, very underhand, there's a lot of law involved, all these barriers that I've literally put up in front of me, and I was just like, hey. Yeah, we'll get to the actual decision to really try and do something in the politics game. But
I think it was really good of you to try and give it a go.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, and then the other thing was the runners. So
Yeah.
I was desperate. Actually, Jeffrey Willoughby posted a post on our Facebook group telling me a little warning about creating a new character.
Yeah.
And I was just determined not to be the same guy. So I was like, what's going to stop me from being on the front line with my shield? Running.
Yeah.
Right, I'm running anyway. I'm training for this to do some charity event stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's the perfect time to do it.
Yeah. I mean, runners as well, what they basically are is military runners. So in a battlefield, a general want to give an order and he dispatches a runner to literally go to such and such unit or such and such commander.
Ian, there's a lot more to it than that.
Is there?
I'll have you know.
Okay.
So, but we'll get to that.
Yeah,
stuff.
no, that's very true. To be honest with you, I don't actually know.
Yeah, right.
But
So national standing.
National standing. Oh, one thing we should say, we had in the Ashbourne standing, probably the main point of interest was that we mentioned obviously there would be a telling for your old character Ifan.
Yeah, the
and
funeral.
so this is basically a tradition that we have where we all kind of basically gather around our fire and tell stories about the person who's passed into the labyrinth.
Yeah.
Being that was your old character, it was interesting. And I think because your character had a lot of weight because obviously several events.
Hey, it was people that we knew. There's people that we knew, people who'd fought with, people that he would save, people that saved him, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
People that had gone up to shenanigans with. Hey, we'll get
So
to that.
no, we will. But I think that was basically the big thing from the Ashbourne standing was that we set a time when we were all going to meet up and do this thing.
Yeah, it's good to set like times of day when something's going to happen because it makes it easier for everyone to kind of get to that point at that point of day because things run on all the time.
And starting last event, we actually all had timepieces, and that was a huge help.
Massively.
Right?
I'm the guy that has a timepiece and
Yeah.
actually tell people what's time
It's
is.
really useful.
Fantastic.
So after that, it's national standing though. So we have our own standing. They call out for the national standing. They actually flowed really nicely into each other. And
Actually, no, we missed a whole bunch of the start of the national standing.
did we?
Yeah,
Oh wow!
because
okay.
we were chatting on.
That's true.
And they started the standing. I don't know whether they started it early or what, but it was already raging.
I
by the
must
time
have
we
been.
finished.
I think I was so into what everybody was
We
saying.
were having a
that
great time. We
yeah.
weren't in a hurry to go and join it. So, but the problem was, I hadn't actually got all the way through the Winds of War by the time we actually got there. So my knowledge on what the fuck was going on was extremely limited. I knew there was the Bayer Cadiz, Grendel fleet, just doing terrible things around the Brass Coast.
Yeah.
And which is the only reason why I knew that is I think it's the second one on the page or something.
So I knew about that, and I knew about the our continued fight against the Valorn was going fairly well, and that we
I
had
got
a big,
the general gist that it was going well.
But we basically had a big opportunity this event that was a huge task to basically get a massive amount of military forces into Brokeliand to give us access and to a specific area and secure the Brook, which is a sort of an area of this territory. In
to hold them back, right, from the...
and it was
while
kind
the
of,
armies went in and did the heavy lifting.
Yeah, it was kind of phrased in a way that if we could get this quantity of military resources to it, we could basically break the back of the attack and start actually pushing
fucking
them back.
Valornian, they have to be stopped.
It was
at
it
all
was
costs.
So I think the whole nation felt really, really driven towards this goal.
You speak to any Navari, any
Yeah.
Navari worth their salt, I should say.
Yeah, I've literally not come across a Navari who isn't interested in it.
But there's also, have you noticed, I don't know whether it's just because we chat about it all the time, but other nations are now a lot more interested in fighting the Valorn.
I think, as you say, I think part of that is that we're more engaged in that part of the story. And we've been a lot more active, and this event is, I think, about a lot of that, our participation in trying to get these things through. But also I think it seems like other nations have been more connected towards the idea of what we want to do. Highguard's been great help, Urizen's been helping out, the Brass Coast have been helping, Dawn's been helping massively. We've got actually a really nice
there's a coalition.
Yeah.
There's a coalition for it, and it's good. And I think that it is OC. They're the real villains here. You got to stamp out the Valorn. I know the Druze and all that stuff, but you can defeat that. The Valorn will only get stronger.
Oh man, there's a bit later where we'll go over this more, but that was really something to sort of having the Valorn as your enemy. And like something, the enemy, like having it as your focus, it's different from the other Nork nations. You get to play, and I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but you get to play the Jon Snow who goes and tells people, "Oh no,
Ian, you can't make Game of Thrones references anymore.
I know
That ship has fucking sailed, dude. It's gone.
There's still the books, dude.
Come on, he's never gonna finish it.
No, but anyway, you get to be the guy who's basically warning everybody about the super mega evil.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing.
You have to put aside your differences.
Yeah,
This is bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of vibe.
Yeah, that kind of thing, right? It's cool, and a couple of the other nations are involved in it as well, of course. Like the marches are involved.
I think there's. Well, honestly, I think it's more of a question of when we all figure it out, rather than this is happening.
Yeah,
It's happening.
Vlorn, everybody must be destroyed.
Yeah.
At all costs.
Well, hold on. We're crossing. I feel like we're crossing a line there.
Yeah.
As podcasters, we cannot encourage people to destroy the Vlorn at all costs. We would never ever try and instruct people to do that.
But a massive part of this, and going back to the standing, was that our friend Robert, who plays Caro, had basically taken on this, what is actually like a really big task of basically being the guy.
Loads of people stepped up. Caro stepping up.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ian, I interrupted
being
you.
the guy who everybody has to basically report their military units to and pledge them towards this cause.
He has to try and get like a count of how many
Yeah.
people, and this is just people on the field. Like, can you imagine trying to? That's like herding cats.
Yeah.
Hey, you. How many military units can you give me? Well, I can do that. What's your name? He puts
He
down.
literally had a
paper.
book. He was writing in everybody's name that signed up to it and what their military strength was, all this kind of stuff. And that was his whole kind of weekend.
It looks as though, like, on the surface, like, that sounds, oh man, that would be terrible, a horrendous
Yeah.
task, and you're gonna, if you balls it up, terrible things will happen. The way he committed himself to
Yeah.
trying to get those numbers, he was always...
Yeah. He was always going to make it.
If you even mentioned a military unit when he was around, he would just sniff you out. Do you know what I mean? What's I all hear about a military unit?
Always be hustling.
Yeah, always hustling, man. He wants those
Always
military
be
units. He
hustling.
wants it. Have you got a military unit for him? Well,
It was-
he's you know good to him. Go tell someone else to go and find a military unit for him.
Like, I kind of fell into some things this event which were, I suppose, were kind of minorly important. But he chose actively to take on something really important and really important to our nation.
Yeah.
And as a friend of ours and stuff, it was so cool.
Hey.
It was like, what a guy. It was
Hey,
great.
he really stepped up. It was awesome.
Yeah, so that made that a massive focus, right? Because again, on top of all of our natural IC things, he's one of our friends. We want to try and commit things to it.
Yeah.
And we all believe in the cause kind of thing. And that was the other really cool thing.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. All of us believed in what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't like a guy just going around trying to get like signatures for something he cares about. This
Yeah.
is everyone's invested.
And like basically the whole nation.
And people, but that's the nice thing because people came to him, right?
Yeah.
They were like, I have friends in this nation. I would
Yeah.
try and do this. I've got friends in this nation. Okay, he's like, I'm gonna go and talk to this nation. I'm gonna go talk to this nation. You guys go and talk to this one. See what we can drum up. You guys go and talk to this nation. See what we can drum up. Fantastic.
He really worked, but I think, as you said, I think it might sound like it wouldn't, some kind of administrative kind of thing like that wouldn't be such a fun game. But I think he had a great time.
Hey, it is game though, and having to go around and try and get
Yeah.
people to go.
Because it's all IC interactions, right?
We've
That's what
just
makes
sat
it
here
fun.
and talked about the Vlorn as the only threat to the Empire.
Yeah.
There are many threats to the
Yeah,
Empire,
and that
and
is-
many things
yeah,
like
yeah.
Wintermark are having their Northern Territorial stomped all over. The Brass Coast their waterways are absolutely dicked on right now.
Urizen are missing a whole region, and they're still committing
Urizen
forces.
Urizen, do you know what I mean? It's
Like they still committed like all of their army last season to the cause, kind of thing.
Urizen
It's
are
crazy.
fucking great. I like the people in Urizen. I like them. IC now. When I
Yeah.
first heard about Urizen, I was like, that's going to be weak sauce. But they're
Yeah,
great in every
they're
single
great.
way. I really like them.
But what I love is that pretty much every time I interact with any nation, I come away thinking, this nation's great.
Yeah.
Like all of the nations, like apart maybe
All the nations.
well-
Whoa! Don't you even dare
Yeah.
say a nation that doesn't meet your quota. That would
Okay.
be you'll get shanked.
Or,
There'll be some
no, I think all the nations. What I like is there's some nations, and the reason you're not keen on them as much is for
an
IC reason, right?
Agreed.
And I think that's what's really cool.
There's a lot of stuff happening this weekend as well, so yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, it's often certain parties almost
Yeah.
within those.
They might
groups.
let me put it this way, any society has its extremes or ideological differences
Yeah.
and that's a bad example.
No, but what I mean is, say for example, the Navarre feel like on the issue of the Vlorn, they're very united towards that cause, and we have those kind of clear focuses. But for some of the other nations, I think it's sort of slightly more open, and there's so many different threats. Like if you're a winter marker, what do you care about? And that could be very different depending on where your home region is, what your backstory
everyone
is.
that you're talking to.
Yeah.
We only really talk to people that are very interested in Kingdom of Valorn or surrounding. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, of course, we're going to feel that way. If you constantly hear that you've just been kicked out of your region that your resource was in, or people around you have had that done to you, well, you might consider them to be the greatest threat to you right now.
Exactly.
But we all know it's the Valorn.
It's all the Valorn.
Also, a thing that happened at the standing. One of our senators mentioned about the fact is there were going to be elections this season.
Yes. And it was seeing your face as this was mentioned, okay, because you'd kind of mentioned very loosely that you were potentially interested in the political game.
Very loosely, though.
But you'd also said throughout, even the whole setting up, I don't think I'm going to do this.
No, I don't want to go to fucking meetings all the time. I don't want to have to fuck around with that.
The moment the word ambassador was dropped,
BAM!
and there was an opportunity to be an ambassador to like a foreign nation or something.
Yeah.
I remember you just turned to me and your face was like, what?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me, right?
And it sounds like great fun. So
now,
basically there's this nation called the Feni.
No. There's more to this.
Okay.
Because I heard it as it was an ambassador role to... They mentioned a few nations. There was like 2 or 3 that were up. I think 2. And one of them, they were ambassador roles, but the other one, the Feni, was a research role.
Ah, okay. That sort of explains a bit more.
Okay, but I only heard ambassador.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So this is how I picture me being an ambassador, right? I get elected, I become an ambassador, I can go and talk to NPC, like profound decisions people, give me loads of plot. Fucking A. Yeah. This sounds pretty good, right? Yeah. So I'm like, let's do this thing. So my first point of call is to try and track down the senator who's in charge of it. Yeah. But it's immediately after standing. So all this stuff's happening. Everyone's going everywhere. Can't find the senator. Eventually bump into a few different people. I bumped into Darius.
Yeah.
And Darius was standing next to me, and I said hello to him. And he said hello to me. And then I introduced myself. And I was like, oh, I'm Gal or whatever. And he goes, oh, I'm Darius. And I stand back up again. I'm like, Darius? And I turned to him again. I said to him, did you know a man called Ifan Ashbourne? And Darius, I don't want to misquote him because he said something awesome. He said something like, he was one of the greatest warriors ever fought with, or something just ridiculous, epic. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But like you said it like it was a factual statement. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's who Ifan Ashbourne is. And I went, that man was like a brother to me, and a friend of his is a friend of mine. I shook his hand, and it was a really nice moment. It was subtle. It was like the next concluding part to that. If it was like like the after the trailer moment. Yeah. Just 2 more heroes hooking up afterwards. Yeah, fantastic. Love Darius.
It was I mean, like Darius is just always fantastic value on the
man's a fucking beast. Yeah. Right. So I was waiting for the senator at the Fawns Council. I'm no longer a Fawn, so they could no longer join in the fun and games of talking about all the...
You can still go there, can't you? But there's certain votes that happen.
But it wasn't my game anyway. Yeah. But it's cool. We voted in a new general, I think it was, something like that. And that was cool, watching everyone kind of like put their points forward. Everyone turned away from... so the generals turned away from the audience.
That's interesting.
And then everyone stood behind them as a voting technique.
That's interesting.
And then the senators took the vote. Then they went away and discussed it. So I think they have an input on the stay anyway, just because of the vote. I think they can Trump stuff anyway.
Okay, they might have
God knows how that works.
That's interesting, right?
And then they decided on one of the candidates, and then hooray, that candidate is now the thing. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, so I bumped into the senator.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, you're interested in this? Well, why do you want to do this? Which is an excellent question. And the only group out of the thing that I knew anything about was the Feni, right?
Yeah.
Because there's kind of been some lore between Navarre and Feni. I know a talking point in a bar about the Feni, knowledge of the Feni.
You'd asked me a couple of questions about it, and I knew very little.
Yeah, I knew bits.
Yeah.
And everyone was in a similar sort of place to me, right?
Yeah, so I felt like we basically knew about the same amount, and you kind of went out with that.
Yeah. So I gave it a bit of chat, and then he was like, right, there's going to be an election at some point tomorrow. I'll nominate you.
That's amazing, right?
Like, so to get elected in the Senate, you need a senator to nominate you.
That's cool.
And it was just like, I think it was just like, he just solid.
Yeah.
Step up.
He seems like I've
Senator,
not had any interaction with him, but he speaks at the Fawns Council a
he
lot.
doesn't know me at all.
Yeah.
Right? I literally came out to him and basically gave a very wobbly argument on why I should be this role that I don't really understand, right? It's like, but he's like, okay, well, if you want to step up, let's do it. Took my name down. He said to me, you need to go and see, if you really want to, because I'm like, who can I speak to help me navigate through this labyrinth of politics?
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to go and find yourself an orc called Skywise Fowl.
That sounds amazing.
Right? Up at the
Hang on.
Imperial offices.
Isn't Skywise Fowl somebody we know?
Whoa. Then we'll get to that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know that.
Yeah, no, that's what I think.
So I'm like, right, I need to go and find this orc. This orc. I don't even know what description this person is, right? At all. Like, are they tall, are they short, whoever, right? So I head off. No, I don't even know they're an orc. He doesn't mention they're an orc.
That's amazing.
So it's just go and find Skywise Fowl. So I walk up to the Imperial offices, and there's a whole bunch of people outside all chatting along and blah, 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 blah. So I go up to one of them, I'm just like, hey, I'm looking for Skywise Fowl. And they point over to said orc.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, oh, cool, it's a fucking orc. So I go up there, rudely interrupt a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, well, not really. I think that would have been done anyway. But I explain who I am and my intention to go and do it. And I think he's the one that mentions it's a research position. Because I'm like, oh, whatever. But have a bit of a chin wag. And when I'm talking to him, I'm like, I know that voice, though. Because where am I? There's prosthetics, there's beards, there's all sorts of wonderful... It's a lot, right? There isn't a person I recognise in there.
I bumped into you at the moment when I think you asked him... Your voice seems familiar.
Whoa, that's... This is the next day. This is Saturday.
Was it?
Yeah, that's Saturday that you're talking about.
Wow, okay, interesting.
Yeah, a lot happened this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
So a lot of our memories is kind of like smooshed, if that makes sense, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I talked to him and he ends up basically telling me, oh, you could go and see some historians. There's like game historians in Highguard that are really knowledgeable, right?
Okay.
This is the thing. Important people or knowledgeable people or people that are really good at the game but potentially get their names bandied around.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's just how these things work, right? Like, me meeting Skywise Fowl was a big moment for my character.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was a really cool thing to be like, oh, so this is how politics works.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the world that we're living in, you know?
But also, it's like, to have a character where their name is something that you can ask about, and people will point you in the direction.
If someone said to you, like, OC, if you want to go and talk about X, then go and talk to this guy here. He knows exactly. He's the best guy in the business.
Yeah,
that's what it's like when you're doing this IC, right? And you're meeting someone who you're like, this is an important person who knows their shit. Yeah, they deserve respect.
It's an earned position, right?
People don't go just around recommending that you go and talk to a fucking idiot, right?
Yeah,
like it's that's not a thing. Yeah. Well, maybe I don't know.
for a laugh, right?
Oh yeah,
like send them off for a long wait.
They're the worst senator. They're the worst. Literally, they only get the job because nobody else runs. The worst senator in the business.
But I don't think it's like that, right? I think it is like legitimately like everyone is extremely competent.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
We'll get to elections and all sorts, but I went up to Highguard, asked around. Highguard, very friendly. Yeah. Also very friendly because of Navarre, which was also really nice. Yeah. And you give a little bit of love to the Highguard. Highguard give a lot of love back. Bear in mind, these guys lend me a shield. Yeah. Well, not me, my character, but I like the Highguard anyway. They're friends with Navarre. Go into a tent. And then there's some people hanging around, the striding. I ask for them, and this lady comes up and starts helping me because the other guy is crazy busy because he's literally constantly, people are coming to visit him, right? Wow. This is who the guy is. So I end up talking to her a bit. So I played this. Have you ever played Monkey Island?
Right, yeah.
The original Monkey Island game. Yeah. The first island, to get off the island, you have to do there's a task where you have to go and duel all the different pirates, right?
Yeah.
And the way you solve it is because you're not actually fighting, you're giving people verbal insults, and then they rebut you with a response, right?
Yeah.
And the way that you win it is by learning you give them an insult and they give you a response.
Yeah.
So the next time someone gives you that insult, you give that as a response, right?
Yeah.
That's how I've decided that, like, getting into politics on a thing is to literally just ask people, what do you think of the position of the Fenny? And they'll tell you, and then you'll be like, well...
Knowledge gained.
Yeah, why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
And then they'll tell you why they feel that way. And then someone asks you, what about this and why do you feel that way? You can literally be like, well, this is the law that I know about it. And therefore, this is this is my argument. And then when that person argues back at you, you can add to that and be like, well, this is my new understanding of the thing. So from going from... Actually, we'll get to the election, but like just through talking to people on the field with very little knowledge of it whatsoever. I didn't have much knowledge, to be completely honest, but it was like enough to kind of go to bat with.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it was really fun RP, talking to all the different people that led me into learning more information.
And I think this was fun. Like you turned up and you were basically... I could tell that you at least had confidence in your ability to speak for a certain amount of time.
It was more like I was excited about the game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was more like, believe me, when we actually got to the election... not feeling very confident about anything because it's a big to-do.
But I think we'd also gone in with the idea that, we pretty sure you weren't going to get
I should say straight off the bat, I'm doing this I'm not worried about winning or losing.
Yeah.
That's not the intention of this endeavour. It's more like just to try it and to kind of get some game off it.
Yeah.
Fully knowing that I would get murdered by anyone that had any modicum of knowledge about the thing.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. Right.
Well, the other thing... So I was going to ask you about this. The other thing you've got written down here on the Fawns Council is the Sea Wolves. What?
Oh, the Sea Wolves.
Right.
So I didn't know this, and I've failed to realise this, but the Sea Wolves are a mercenary group. I think they're from the League.
Okay.
I think they're from the League.
Right.
If I've got that wrong, I'm really sorry. But it's like... they're very distinctive in their kind of flamboyant, kind of like...
Get up.
Just, they look awesome. It's like a yellow and black. And they protect the healer block.
Yes. Yeah.
I've never noticed them before. Usually because I'm in the front line, absolutely smashing it. But so I'm not really sure what's going on behind me. But these are mercenaries. And at the standing, it came up that they were going to be protecting this healer block again. And they'd offered a very reasonable figure to do it for the season rather than a one-off.
To do it for the whole year.
For the whole year, sorry.
Yeah. Which was...
And everyone was like, why don't we just do this ourselves? Blah, 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 you know what I mean? Like, we should just... why are we spending all this money on them? Fawns Council, they put their case forward of why they should be...
Oh, what? They were actually at Fawns Council?
They were at Fawns Council,
awesome.
And the Fawns Council voted on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So they presented their case, and they basically said, because Kiartan, dearly departed Kiartan, had a deal with us, we want to keep doing this, and we want to make the deal good for you. I'm tired of running around on the Friday trying to make deals.
Yeah.
Let's just make this deal happen now for the rest of the year, and then we can just do this.
Yeah.
And they went on this like monologue about how badass they were.
Yeah.
And holy shit! By the end of that, I was like,
high them up.
they're a bargain at the price. Just give them the fucking money. Give them the money. Like, that is...
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that shit, and I'm not 100% sure that we would hold under those circumstances.
They were so good, I'm pretty confident it's going to get re-upped.
It did.
No, but it would get re-upped again.
Next year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, they're a bargain.
Like, the price they offered, fantastic. Like, and
just
really
for,
good
just
people.
For the epic monologue once a year, it's just worth the money. Like, the RP was so good.
Yeah, I didn't actually know they were from the League. That's really interesting.
I think they're from the League. I could be wrong about that.
That would make sense, actually, with their get
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. They've got that kind of slightly Venetian vibe. It might either be that or some kind of Dornish kind of thing, or maybe...
No, I don't think Dornish. They'd be wearing armour if they were Dorn.
Yeah, true. They look badass, like really badass.
They know their shit too.
Yeah.
They also they get paid to train other nations.
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
These are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really badass.
They're professional mercenaries.
And it was cool as well because we've got this new, and I think this is quite exciting, is you can actually submit different archetypes to the wiki, if you like, or to the Navari identity. And for example, Thorn is an archetype, or a guide, or a Vate.
Yeah.
Right, these are different archetypes. There's a new one that we've actually made, which is the Vine, which is the healers.
Really?
So we've actually managed to get this push through.
Healer is a class.
So now, there's a group of healers. Basically, it's people who are dedicated to healing. And
healing. Do you know how close I came to being a healer? By the way.
Oh, very interesting.
Like, I came really close. Potentially, if you weren't a healer, or you, maybe,
like say I died or something, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But healer was definitely, even being a magical healer.
Yeah. I think that
was more where I was thinking, but
I really enjoy it.
I just think we all know, I want to get stuck in with the old.
Yeah.
You know,
I think like it's interesting because that's the interesting thing about the archetype of Vine is that they are not. I suppose they will fight under pressure, but that's not their goal. Their goal is to save lives and on the battlefield and send them back in.
It's so great to see people that clearly aren't there for the fighting for a battle, but really having a good time.
Yeah, really having a great time. And I think the Physic game and the Magical Healer game, it really gives you that, right? You can be involved in the battles. Obviously, there's always the chance of mild combat, right? That you're on a battlefield, like there's, you might be in a combat situation.
Line shift,
all that kind of stuff.
You've got to be aware of what's going on around you, right?
But you can go there with a reasonable amount of confidence your experience is not going to be heavy combat, and that you can be very, very effective. In fact, I would say at points pivotal on the battlefield.
Yeah, totally.
Like there's times when the healer block saves the battle. Like if they weren't there doing the things they did, there's points when the line would crumble.
Yeah,
they're that important. So I think they're fantastic, and I think having the Seawolves support them, it is like definitely.
It frees up our units to do what they do best.
It does, and they do it really, really well. They purport an extremely valuable.
But they're also good for if there is an all-out route.
Yeah,
they're a fucking brick wall.
Yeah.
Right, they'll give you time, if nothing else, to reorder.
And we're talking about.
I think they did actually. Yeah, I think they've done that a couple of times.
They moved to the front line of points.
Yeah, they're a solid unit. Right?
But it's also like they protect probably one of the most valuable assets on the field for the Navarre.
It's the engine that keeps the whole machine running. Right. How many keep your soldiers alive and in the fight?
How many times do we come away from Battlefield talking about how there's essentially an attrition combat aspect to it, where you can tell when one side's winning.
Depends on the fight, right?
Depends on the fight. But there are times when the line will start not breaking because the fighters are any worse, but because they can't heal the people quickly enough.
Yeah, they're all running low, and then it just takes
their hero points are diminished, their health is diminished, and they just don't have the resources to replace those things. That is often how, especially those kind of shield walls, sort of pokey go down.
It's scary when you know that all it takes is a boot in the front door and the whole thing can come crashing down. It's scary when you're in a line.
It's funny when you're kind of fronting up on the line, but with no hit points.
Yeah,
like basically, like you're making a complete show of it.
Hey man, confidence goes a long way. Unfortunately, confidence, if it at all loses in the face of the enemy, is the weakest thing possible, and you will get murdered because of it.
So, I mean, the other big thing, I suppose, on Friday after was there any more with your political game at that point? Did you?
Not at that point.
No.
It was more like, I think I was... Yeah, I think I basically... But that took a while, like going around and talking to everyone. Yeah.
I mean, so I think while you were doing that, I actually went shopping with Lloyd, actually in the sort of the OC sort of merchants that are down the main strip, and there's loads there. And they're
I can't
really
go
good
down there.
characters.
I get worried I'm going to drop loads of money there.
It's fantastic stuff.
I bought a tankard.
Oh right, really?
Yeah, I bought a new
cool.
tankard because basically people fill it up, and sometimes I'm like, I'm getting short change with this tiny little tankard. I need to up it, so I spent a £5 on a new tankard. So yeah,
that's nice.
Bargain. Yeah.
No, so we we got this really nice sword for Lloyd. And it's kind of weird. I think he'd basically ordered the sword from this place, and it was basically this one-handed but sort of maximum length you're allowed bone sword, but it had the ability for the handle on it to support either one or two hands. It kind of had shifting room like how your sword has.
Cool, yeah.
So, but it was a really, really cool looking thing. And it was so funny that it literally was exactly what he wanted. It might even be the case that they made the thing he ordered, but for some reason didn't.
Yeah, because they said that they wanted it, and then they said they hadn't done it in time.
Yeah.
And then there was one there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
It sounds like
weird.
he probably ordered the same thing, right?
Yeah,
It's very strange.
Anyway, it was very strange, but he bought it. It looks amazing. It really finishes off the look of his character. Yeah, and I think that, like, especially with Lloyd's new armor, like Lindir, I think had a really cool kind of identity to him anyway.
Yeah.
With this, the whole sort of wisdom thing he was kind of pursuing. And he's obviously got the sword and the shield.
He's really learning where he is at Anvil, right?
Yeah.
And coming to his own, especially with the attrition rate. It's like there's lots of room to discover new things and fill voids within the group, right?
Yeah. So the other big thing that I had was I'd made arrangements to basically go off on a skirmish with Urizen. And basically, because on the beginning of the Friday, I'd realised I'd forgotten my armour. And the previous night on the Thursday, I realised I'd forgotten my camp bed. Early on Friday, I basically had to do a massive round trip back home, get my stuff, come back. And I just ended up just chucking everything in the tent. And basically, it kind of flustered me for the opening part of the event. And basically kind of put everything, all my sort of sense of time and organisation kind of off. So I ended up just like missing this skirmish or the beginning of it.
I think the times were a bit confusing though.
It was a little bit of confusion.
So I remember
about the
there being confusion about half an hour either way on a lot of these.
Yeah. So there was. I thought the skirmish was at 7:30, but actually it was I think at like 6:30, 6:45, something like that. So it was my bad anyway. So basically I completely missed out on this skirmish. I was a bit gutted about it really because it was something that
it's a skirmish.
I really wanted to get on it. I really wanted to be like that, the one Navarre kind of thing.
It was weird on a Friday not having a skirmish on.
Yeah, but we've done that quite a few times.
Yeah, but we've always tried.
Yeah, we've always tried.
We've always been those guys that didn't get into the club. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
Not tonight, lads.
Yeah.
And then, but this time round, it was like, no, there's just nothing on.
Yeah.
Chill.
That's very true, actually.
We finally have actually decided to join the banner of the Entwined Paths.
Yeah, so we mentioned last event that basically we joined this sort of collection of stridings and steadings, which are basically the Navari versions of groups, under this kind of name of the Entwined Paths. And we had the option to join this banner, and that's like a military banner that we can kind of serve under. And basically, it conveys...
Not under.
Sorry,
whoa.
no, that's
not
true.
serve under. What are we...
But identify within.
Yeah, one of the things that Ifan was a big proponent of was not joining the banner, despite it being in all arguable ways better.
Yeah.
Was the fact is that we were new to the idea and wanting to suss things out.
Yeah, and I think we didn't want to lose our identity. So one thing I really liked was they'd written the oath for the Entwined Paths really nicely.
Yeah, it's
where
really
it was
nice.
basically that they had this rhyme. I'm not going to be able to remember it now, but it was basically about how those stridings roam and steadings stay or whatever, and all this kind of stuff. But it's when we come to Anvil, we all call it our home kind of thing.
Yeah, and we're all individual, but we all fight for one cause together.
Yeah, so it was a real kind.
It was a very non-binding, but like it was more like kind of like it was a bond of friendship between everyone.
Yes,
and I really appreciate the lack of the stick involved in the wording on that, and much more of the character.
It was really intelligently written. I think Caddock wrote it, and he
Caddock.
Yeah. Played by John,
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, he wrote it, I think. And I might be wrong about that.
It's beautifully worded.
It's really nice, and I think it really captures all the sort of things we wanted to we were worried about as a striding IC. Obviously, OC, we all thought is a good idea.
I think it's been nice getting to know new people and kind of like have a decent base for...
Yeah, and it's really nice to go to the Entwined Paths area. Mm-hmm. And even we've actually got quite a nice camp spot as the Ashbourne in our own place, but it's nice as the Ashbourne to have somewhere that we can go and engage with the whole group. Mm-hmm. And the main benefit of doing this, to be honest with you, there's all the mechanical benefits it confers. It means you can probably get cheaper resources off people, all those kind of things. But the main benefit it confers is just people who you can very easily RP with and have friends with, and just connections with.
Friends is good.
Yeah. It's
always right. Like the more friends you have, the better it is in multitude of aspects. Right,
yeah.
It's more better game. It's better RP. Better all around. Right?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So
So
yeah, we joined that. In order to join it, we had to go through this ritual.
Oh yeah, the whole
So there's basically, because this thing is like the banner is essentially like, think of it almost like a magic bond that kind of links us all together.
To kind of help people out do it as well, right?
Yeah. So, and that was one of the cool things. We basically had 3 people who were mages who were going along.
Mm-hmm.
This one guy, I honestly can't remember the name of.
Who?
Richard. Yes.
The main guy.
Yeah. He
I can't
took
remember
us
his
along.
character name because I'm terrible with names, but he really took me under his wing for all of this.
Yeah, he was great. All of them.
Really helped me try and find like my foots in it, and he's really heavily ritual based.
Yeah.
Right, that's his thing.
And bear in mind that I think this is probably the part of the game you, with regards to magic, have had the most nerves about.
It's known as cringe magic.
Yeah.
It's a common term for ritual magic, and people reject it offhand.
Yeah.
But like I said, literally,
yeah,
it's some chat, it's some good RP, and then you make magic things happen.
Yeah, and
it's
I think
pretty like I think rituals are very dependent on the people that you're with.
Yeah.
You know, I can imagine, just like Songs and Storytime, there are people out there that when they bring the heat on a ritual, it's awesome.
And having said that, we've both had obviously people, imbue us with magical energy before, and the people who are really good at it. In fact,
had a great time.
Yeah,
right?
we've been very lucky. But I think everyone is just so into it that actually I've never had a bad one.
Yeah,
I've never had a bad experience with a mage.
It's usually almost always mutually beneficial.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So you have a vested interest in going along and having a good time with it, right? So that
yeah, so the person is telling you, maybe they're talking about like, you're talking about how the power of the ocean is in you. It's to my benefit to play up that, right?
Yeah,
if
mechanically and RP.
Yeah,
right?
if I just played it off like, give me the hit points, give me the ability, give me the whatever, right? It would be to no one's
you
gain.
hand someone a token. Oh, by the way, you are now this.
Yeah, right. It's going along with the RP of it and letting yourself get psyched up or letting yourself feel these different emotions. It really actually is a hugely beneficial part of the game. Mm-hmm. So we all go off to these standing stones, which are in this kind of near the archway. There's
the Hall of Worlds.
Yeah, well, you'll be able to tell me more about that later. Yeah. But there's these standing stones where we get to do this ritual, and there's some refs who are kind of positioned near there. You basically tell, this is the ritual we're going to do, and how many of us are going to do it, and we've got the resources to do it, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And like they handle all of the mechanical stuff for you really quickly.
Whenever you have to do anything like that, they all have iPads now.
Yeah.
So basically all you need to do is, if you're doing a change within the game, grab yourself a referee, ask them politely to come and help you with a thing, go and do said thing, or at least provide enough evidence that you are going to do said thing, and they'll help you out and assign it.
Yeah, and it was great. So then
they're also really good at basically just setting the scene.
Yeah,
letting you know what you were about to do. Everyone understand what's going on. Blah blah blah. Any questions? Good luck. Good game.
And the benefit we had from that as well was, of course, that Richard was, knew exactly what he was doing. He led us through the whole process.
Yep.
And this had really cool kind of OCIC kind of links where obviously we don't know mechanically what we're supposed to do, and we don't know IC what we're supposed to do. So you had a really good way of saying we're going to blood the blades.
But it's also fun to do it with people that you don't know that well. Get to know them a bit better, right? Have a good time with them. It's all good.
So he did it like with the first of us, he did it like how you do marriage vows. Basically, this is the thing you're gonna. I'm gonna say.
I wouldn't go that far. Really.
No, but you know what I mean.
Like literally says, right, I'm gonna read something out. You follow me. When
That's what I meant, right? Yeah.
And then basically you just follow along, and then he runs basically a lot of blood magic in Autumn and Navarre. So do you give your blood willingly? Yeah, I guess you're right. It is a bit willingly, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I do. He slices the old hand. Then takes a bit of the blood, puts it on your face to be like a bonded thing, and it's good.
It's cool.
And
but
we all did it.
The really cool thing was, so you got to do it on someone. He did it on me, and so
I got done to me first, and then there was
and
we
then,
all do each other.
Yeah, that was the cool bit. So then the 3 mages and you all did it simultaneously. It's standing in a circle. It was really cool, actually. Like as an outsider, I don't know what it was like to do, but as an outsider, watching you all sort of recite it together and then do the whole process.
It's given me really ideas for like, you don't need to go to Songs and Story to do spoken word or a performance, right? You can do it anywhere you want, and you can do it as mechanically part of the game. That's really fun, right?
It was really, really good time to do that. So yeah, we joined the banner, and that was great actually.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get to the telling, the
Yeah.
funeral of Ifan Ashbourne.
We'd arranged at 9:00 that we'd all meet up and have
Yeah.
the telling. But also before this, I'd bumped into Saul, who plays Farron, and I'd said, and he'd actually got in touch with us, OC, saying, if you're going to do a telling, can I be there? But I got to bump into him.
I think it would be like there's a lot of stuff that we spoke about before the event of it, when you asked to the group, do you think that we should allow an outsider to be at the telling?
Yeah.
I think the general feeling was, if someone wants to speak there because they knew the person, well, it will be more honour to that person to have someone else to come along, right? So we had a few people come along.
Yeah,
right?
we did, yeah. But anyway, I ran out to him and I said, we're going to do it at this time, come along, kind of thing. And then Callum came along and Simon came along and I think
Tom came along.
Tom came along, yeah.
And Reese. Anyway,
yeah, it was
there
great.
was a bunch of people there.
There was a whole bunch of us.
And we all had a big old chin wag and we went through the Ifan greatest hits.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun time, wasn't it?
I had a great time. I mean, I think
it's good to have yeah, of course I had a good time, but it was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was like, so I started. I think. Oh no, I did Good Dave start. Good Dave started.
It doesn't matter.
And then I went on and did my bit.
Yeah.
But it was actually doing it.
It was
like telling really, a story about Ifan.
It was really great having everyone, like, for me as the person, of course, it felt really nice. But it was like to see how that it actually changed people's in-game lives, right?
Yeah.
Like Lindir had got up 3 times in battle, but Stay With Me by Ifan. Like, the fun stories when Farron was a little bit late, but he ended up telling the story about how we all got cleaved in the competition for the herb garden.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a really good time, like having everyone have a bit of a chat. Everyone had a bit of a joke. We had a bit of a drink while we're doing it. And it was a really nice little send-off. And it really... Do you know what? It hit me a little bit in the feels at times because it was such a nice experience.
Dude, it hit me in the feels. Like talking through like the stuff.
Because there's OC memory.
There is OC
of doing this stuff and having a really good time and realising... Like, it was a really nice final chapter in everything that character was,
It bookended it really nicely, actually. Like, having a proper sort of funeral, if you like, for Ifan Ashbourne was really good. And I think because especially, like, with my telling, I did it where I was kind of running through all the things you'd sort of wanted to do and, either failed to do or not had the opportunity to do.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure about that's appropriate at a funeral to talk about everything that he had failed at doing.
But then it was kind of like, it was really about how it was those things and how you'd been driven from them to succeed and that you were that kind of guy. And I think it was like it got, because I was telling a story about a length of time spent with Ifan as well, it really got me. Like I was a bit emotional about it. It's kind of weird. As you said, there's a lot of memories associated with it. Mm-hmm. But you did a telling, a little brief.
Oh yeah, I did a ridiculous where I told a story about how we're all in Hordaland.
Yeah.
And we were scouting, me and Ifan. We came across an orc camp, and we're trying to get home, but the orc camp was between us and them.
Yeah.
And our friends. So Ifan decided that we would just go and set fires. So we walked straight through the camp, setting fires to everything as we went, and walked straight through the middle of the camp and off in the thing. And I said, he said that smell of the camp burning. He said it smelled like victory.
Yeah, it was so good.
You know me, never shy to rip anything off.
Yeah,
it was a really good time, and it was like Yeah. Ifan Ashbourne.
But yeah, I think it bookended that whole thing really nicely. Mm-hmm. And everybody really, everyone just sort of stepped up and delivered really well. And we really appreciate everyone's time who came along and who was involved.
Hey, it was great.
It was great. Yeah. I think it was one of the highlights of the event, actually.
Right, after the telling, I went to the runners meeting.
I have I think I remember you saying that you were going to do this.
I always want to have a really good time on Friday night. So 10 o'clock, I'm already in the bars, having a really good time, chatting to people. I was like, no, I'm going to go to the military council and I'm going to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, off I trod to the military council, and outside were a few shadowy figures who turned out to be the people there waiting for the runners. And a bunch of them weren't even there, they were just there for moral support for people that were there to be the runners.
I think we accompanied you that far, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then we left you to it.
Yeah, and then we all, eventually, a bunch of people who were just kind of there for the lols to join their friend, we all went inside the military tent.
Mm.
The military tent is a big old tent.
Yeah.
Inside the middle of it is a wooden block tactical battlefield looking thing.
I've seen photos of it, but I've never actually seen it.
Yeah, it's exactly what you would expect it to be.
It's
exactly
cool.
what it looks like. Yeah, I mean, it's little blocks and they look like they fit into different areas and you can move them around.
That's
and
cool.
represent all sorts of stuff. A lot of chat going on in there about all sorts of things. Went and sat down, and then basically we had a big old meeting about the runners. And it was all like, what are we going to be called? And there was a whole vote about what we were going to be called and the role that we would play and all this stuff. And you know me, I'm not massively keen on meetings.
Yeah.
And neither, I think, is my character going to be massively keen on long, drawn-out meetings. This wasn't long and drawn out. It was just an aspect of, just tell me when to show up. That's all I was really there for. But it was interesting seeing how people, like, the runners are people's game. Yeah. Right? And there's loads of things out there that people are like, they run and they organise and it's a really valuable part of it. And it was actually, you know what, I'm acting like it wasn't fun. It was fun. It was cool speaking to all the different groups, finding out who's in charge of what.
I tell you what is fun. It's fun when you see something that maybe you yourself wouldn't find that interesting, but when you see someone else who's enthusiastic about it, and then it's obviously a big part of their
character has so much to do with it. If people are interesting and nice and engaging and passionate about something, it makes you much more interested. Mm-hmm. I can watch a half-an-hour video on how they make an aluminium can. Yeah. Because it's interesting and engaging because the person that's telling it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the runners meeting wasn't that bad. But it was, it was a meeting, right? Basically, all I had to do was get there in the morning. There'll be a person there. Go and speak to that person. They were going to write my name down just in case I died.
That's amazing.
So No, it felt like the was it not Monty Python, Blackadder goes forth. What do they call us, the 30-minuters or whatever?
Oh, right, I see what you're saying.
That's what it felt like. Because it was like, the attrition rate, allegedly, in the runners is extremely high. Okay. Runners get murked all the time, right? And I was like, I kind of want this character to survive a bit. Yeah. And I'm like joining in, being like, hey, it's sweet that we got this safe role behind the back lines, right? And they're like, nah, man, like, this is my first week. I'm replacing, like, a bunch of other people that got murdered too. Yeah. You know, it's like, what? Shit. But yeah, so that was kind of...
You mean a survival rate of 30 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Not a training rate, a survival rate. That's what it felt like. Oh, they also provide potions.
Oh, wow, okay.
Well, a potion, that was literally a get the fuck out of jail free card. If you pull this, then you're going to be okay.
Sure. Was that a sovereign specific?
Probably.
Yeah. It's basically a cure everything kind of deal.
Actually, we can talk a lot about the running stuff tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably makes more sense. You can tell me about how...
But yeah, it was kind of cool dipping my toe again into you're in a whole world of a game that you don't even know. Yeah. And it's like, wow, look at all these people doing this game I had no idea existed. And it's interesting, right? Right.
So I headed off to Urizen. We were all kind of heading out drinking at this point.
Such a party boy.
Yeah, everybody... I think the idea was that everybody was going to go to Varushka and gamble there. Yes. But I really wanted to go to Urizen, mainly actually because I wanted to sort of find Vespian, who... is who I'd arranged to go on obviously a skirmish with and apologise basically I hadn't made it. And also I just wanted to interact with Urizen. And
you were really upset, I see, about the fact is that you'd missed it, right?
Yeah, I thought like, it didn't
what if people died because I wasn't there?
Yeah, like I see, like it wasn't cool. Like that Talis missed out on it, he wanted to make amends on it. Yeah, but anyway, so I set off on this journey to Urizen, got there, went inside the Phoenix Reach tent, which is it's really lovely in the Phoenix Reach tent, by the way. And yeah, it's just Urizen party time is going on. And I was kind of listening to this song and then like Lanius is
any
over.
party time.
It's great, dude. It's such a nice ambience, right? Because I tell
you know
what,
I'm saying it like that, but I'm really jealous. I want to go Yuri's Any Party Time.
I tell you what it is. It's like it's Add Songs and Story Time, and I didn't really fully understand this actually until after the event. Anyway, Add Songs and Story Time. We all gather around the fire, and we like that. What's going on in the circle is the focus, and everyone's quiet and respects that.
Yeah.
In Urizen, the singers are awesome, by the way, and like everyone is. There's definitely people focused on it, but in the Phoenix Reach
music.
tent, yeah, it has that whole thing of it's almost like the tavern you go to with the really cool music in the background and quality performers, but you're also there to do business and talk. And it was really chill, really nice. And so I was sort of sitting there listening to this musician do their song, and then Lanius kind of calls me over from the other side of the circle, and I walk over and we talk, and we just kind of get sort of talking. Just kind of catching up, and it was just so nice. It's so nice to be able to go and like have people I see who and you can catch up with, and just it's just such a nice feeling, from other nations. And so he tells me about this, and I'm not sure. I probably won't say too much about this, but he tells me basically that he's got this sword that was given to him, and it basically it's slowly doing things to his character. It's changing him, right? But it was really weird, right? It was cool. It was like a proper.
You've had a few drinks and someone says like, "Oh, I've got this rash. What do you think it might be?" Or...
Yeah, no, it was kind of like that, but like the magic weapon equivalent. Right?
Yeah,
it was like I have this awesome sword and it's amazing, but it has this kind of
it's doing this other
curse
thing.
to it. Right?
Yeah,
yeah. It was so cool, and it was one of those things where, and he got given it. It's not like he made it or whatever. So yeah, it was a really cool.
He
kind
just
of
came
aspect.
into contact with it.
Yeah, he kind of. I don't know the storyline for how he got it. I'm sure that was very interesting as well. But that was cool. I got a little bit weirdly self-conscious in there. I felt like I'd had a couple of drinks at this point. I suddenly became randomly self-conscious that maybe I was being a bit loud or something, because I'm used to the songs and story time atmosphere where you respect, as I say, what's in the middle of the circle. I wasn't. I just didn't catch the vibe as much.
You can get quite loud as well.
Yeah, I can get quite loud. So anyway, I basically go off and, I had a great time anyway, but basically I head off to go and catch up with the guys.
You scampered.
And I go to catch up with the guys at Varushka.
Yeah.
Where there's this gambling den, apparently. And I turn up there and nobody's there. But I do. I go into this tent.
The other guys
yeah.
asked someone, where's the casino? And they got told there wasn't one.
Okay, so I go in and I say, I hear there's an establishment where one can, place some coin and, earn reward for their prosperity or something. I can't remember, something like that, right? And they kind of gave a look to each other, and I thought, well, I didn't realise at the time, but obviously they must have been sort of semi-casing out whether or not they wanted to let you show you where it was. Yeah, I think the idea is if you just walked on and say, I'm looking for the gambling den, you probably wouldn't get in. But if you go up a bit more, that would seem to be the impression I got anyway, after the fact.
Right.
Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. But that's the cool thing, right? It's all game, right?
Yeah.
So they take me to this gambling place, which is basically just quite a small kind of awning.
It's a little tent, a little bar, a table,
and they're playing blackjack.
Yeah, with candles on it.
And it's great. Like, it was just really good to sit down and play some blackjack. And I'm just playing there. And then... And I grab a drink from the bar as well. And then Farron walks in. And I'm like, oh, dude. He may have already been there already, but to be honest, my memory's so blasted at the time. I was pretty drunk. But anyway, we basically sit down at the table and we start gambling. And they're playing it just straight up blackjack, so no kind of dealer wins if you draw, any of that kind of stuff.
I saw they played that way, and it's just like, I'm sure they must be breaking even.
Yeah, no, but what was cool about it was, though, it wasn't like a kind of, it wasn't casino rules kind of thing.
No, it's nice.
It was all. Hopefully they broke even, but they were super generous about it all. But we're playing, and obviously getting progressively more drunk, and we're putting money in, and then we just decide, let's just go crazy. Let's just drop some thrones. Right?
Put a throne on it.
Money that neither of us really has.
Hey, do you want to put throne on 2 cards?
And that's how it was. So, but fair play to them, because to be honest, bear in mind, as I said, they're not playing casino rules or anything like that, where they've got an increased chance of winning. Yeah, they're just playing straight up blackjack. So they're like, understandably, let's not do thrones, let's do 4 crowns each for each person. So yeah, we just did that, and we didn't go over that, and we had a couple of hands where it's just like I'd lose my 4 crowns, Farron would win his 4, he'd double his, and then next time he'd lose his and I'd double mine. So we literally broke completely even. But it was so cool just to be like, nah man, we're going in with this 4 crowns. We're going to be high rolling it on this table.
It's almost like gambling's addictive.
It was so, but the cool thing was, because it was IC, we could really play it up, right? We could really play it up, and that was really cool. We had a great time.
Right. Yeah, so you headed back to Songs and Stories?
Yeah, after that, basically just I think we'll hit the Songs and Stories circle maybe on Saturday, because I think it's bigger then, but it's just always a pleasure.
Yeah, to finish this episode up, basically, I'm the party animal, and you're the guy that goes home early.
Yeah.
At Anvil, you're the party animal. I'm in there with my Horlicks, with my slippers on. Oh, Ian's out still. You know what I mean? And there I am, turning myself in and going to bed.
Were you asleep when I came back? I think you were.
I'm always asleep when you come back.
Yeah. It was great.
It's ridiculous.
I think the really cool thing...
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you are the guy that's out all night and I'm the guy getting to bed because we're fighting. We know, Ian, we're fighting in the morning. You want to get a good night's sleep. Have you drunk some water? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's who I am. You're out there like, let's have some more drinks and play poker with thrones on the table.
Yeah, it was great. It was such a good night. Song and Story Time was amazing. Anvil at night, especially on a Friday, I think it's got a really special
atmosphere was fantastic this time round. Anyway, we're running so over our time limit. So we're going to go, we'll come back and we'll do Big Saturday.
Big Saturday.
Big Saturday.
Yeah.
Good times. All right, thanks again. Join us soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What the? We made it. We're alive. And strangely, we got washed up at the exact same place as each other. I always found it rather implausible in stories, but here we are. Let's hit inland and see what we can find. How strange. That appears to be a ruin of some sort. Maybe some great hall. Though I'm not familiar with the architecture, it could be ancient. Let's go inside.